Well, that's word on the street. That's word that is there that actually we've been showered with some cold water, especially that Klopp is going to make an exit and open
But
up,
you knew.
open up for this new guy. I think the earlier statement that was given itself that this guy was going to leave also
With the bang?
Yes, brought up a lot of pressure, especially among our players. But truth of the matter, we are out of the title race. That I can confirm.
So if you just forgotten about it.
For me, I would tell you to say, let's try next season. I think we've joined the bandwagon.
With the new coach who's coming?
We've joined the bandwagon for Chelsea with a new coach that is coming. And I hope the momentum will just definitely be there and not go away from us as Liverpool, because we never walk alone and we continue with the same talk.
Okay, but you do have the players though.
Yes, we do have the players, and it was exciting that also you had struggles with the Aston Villa over the weekend, but I was like, okay.
We drew 2-2.
Exactly, but to some extent, you had predicted that was going to be more of a walkover, but
of course,
Aston Villa was there to give you a tough time.
Yeah, we accept our fate, and it hasn't been an easy season for us. Nelson, you know that.
Yeah, but for me, what is exciting is the fact that it's good to see one of our own back in the Premier League in Patson Dhaka. Leicester City were promoted again to the Premier League.
They are back.
Yes, and beginning next season, we're seeing that fire burn in Patson Dhaka.
We'll be watching our boy.
Yes, making sure that things get to stabilize. Because you remember at the time, Championship, there were talks like Patson Dhaka should leave the club and for a better club who is going to perform. But I think, in my view,
he stuck around.
He stuck around, and to some extent, we even saw him captain the team to some point. Yeah. That shows the level.
Huge.
Yes, the level of confidence the team has in him and what actually has to be looked out for. And for me, also, the interesting week was yesterday. We were celebrating the life of the founding president.
Yes.
Yeah,
the founding president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Yesterday it was his day, and we're still celebrating him. In fact, all this week we just need to celebrate the gallant son of the soil. May his soul rest in peace. He was a man with a big heart. He made sure that after Zambia was liberated and got its independence, he went on a marathon, if you like, to make sure that all African countries were liberated. And he said, independence for one, if one country is independent, it means that all the other countries have to be independent. And Nelson Mandela, may his soul rest in peace, the first, the democratically elected president of South Africa, the first time when he left prison, the first country visited was Zambia. In honor, obviously, of the efforts that the founding father did during his incarceration. And
for me, Joe, also is what is so exciting about the life of this gallant son of the soil. He was a good writer.
Too much.
I've seen some
and a good orator.
Exactly. Too. And one of his quotes were, I think I like this quote. We're all equal before God, and we should respect our differences as we share our common.
I saw that one on your status.
So like this man. Yeah. And there's also one quote that she likes about a generation that does not consider the past, is not serious about the future and the current.
And that's one thing I've seen with the emerging politicians. They do not want to acknowledge what the founding father and his team did. Hence you see them making mistakes day in, day out, because they do not want to learn from the past. KK and his team were selfless leaders in the likes of Mr. Harry Mondankumbula, Nabumino Mundia, and Mr. Simon Kapwepwe. These were men that gave themselves selflessly to save Zambia. They left their cabinet offices, they left their Peugeot, those vehicles of the past, and went to make sure that they construct University of Zambia. They urged the entire country, citizens, to contribute. Is it chickens? Is it goats? Is it cows? Whatever you could contribute to build that university for our children today, where our brothers and sisters are going, and our children, of course, will be able to benefit from the University of Zambia. And you could see that these were selfless leaders. When they left office, we are told, and it has been documented, that they had no extra coins in their pockets. We have had friends, we have had relatives who are privileged to be, their fathers to be governors, their fathers to have served as ministers in the KK administration. They'll tell you that they left without being accused of having proceeds of crime. Property suspected to be proceeds of crime. They left government as clean as KK's handkerchief, Nelson. So you can see just how big the heart of the man was for the Zambian people. And in fact, remember, he brought about free, meaningful education.
And definitely so. As we get to kickstart the week, let's also get to look at what are some of the healthy tips that you can actually get through our Health Corner segment, as we get also to understand that there is a chilly weather, but what do we need to do? Let's get to Dr. Nakwiana Mufwaya as she gets to give us some of the insight on the Health Corner, because a healthy nation is dependent on a wealth people. So it is about healthy for a country to be wealth. Let's go directly to the health segment.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakwiana Mufwaya. So this week we want to talk about something really exciting. It's something that is really affecting a lot of people. It's a condition that affects men. So we'll talk about prostate cancer this week. This week on the 4th of February, which is going to be a Saturday, will be World Cancer Day, and so we thought, why not talk about a cancer that is affecting many people, especially here in Zambia. So we'll talk about prostate cancer. It's a condition that is affecting a lot of men, and many people do not know that they have prostate cancer, and sometimes this condition is not even diagnosed or realized while the person is alive, and it is only found out that the person had prostate cancer after they have died already. So we'll talk about what prostate cancer is. We'll also talk about some of the signs and symptoms of prostate cancer, and we'll also talk about the risk factors that predispose someone to have prostate cancer, and we'll also highlight how it's diagnosed and the treatment options that are there for people who have prostate cancer, and also how you can prevent prostate cancer. So make sure that you watch all the videos for this week. You're tuned into the Breakfast Show every day, starting from Monday all the way up to Friday. So today we'll talk about what is prostate cancer. So prostate cancer is cancer of the prostate gland, and the prostate gland is a gland that is found in men. So usually it's located just below the bladder and in front of the rectum. So it's a gland that functions in men to help produce semen, and usually when there is accelerated cell growth, so when the cells are growing more than they are dying, because normally in a normal person, cells are supposed to die as they are also regenerating. So some cells are being produced and other cells are dying. But when the rate of cell death is slower, or the rate of cell growth is more, you find that somebody would develop a tumor, which is a cancer. So when that happens in the prostate, then that's when we say that you have prostate cancer. So prostate cancer, like I have already said, affects a lot of men, and according to the WHO, most men in Zambia have cancer. It's the most common cancer in men in Zambia. So it's important that you know exactly how this condition comes about and how it's treated or how it's diagnosed in the hospital and what you can do to prevent yourself from having prostate cancer. So this week, that's what we'll be talking about. And don't forget to watch the show, The Breakfast Show, tomorrow again, as we'll be talking about the types of prostate cancer that are there, and we'll also talk about some of the risk factors of prostate cancer. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much to Dr. Nakubyanam Mufaya right there with the topic prostate cancer, and this is a cancer that takes place especially in men or gentlemen or boys, if you like, and it is very important that you get to also have insights in terms of what is this cancer all about, what do you need to do in terms of ensuring that you protect it. And I'm glad that those insights were shared with you, and I'm hopeful that you've picked one or two interesting issues that have been raised out there. And let's get to move on as we get to look at the money market this morning. And we know for a fact that last week the money market, the dollar was fetching around 26 kwacha, somewhere there. Is it still the case? Yes, the case is the same. As you can see on your screen, the United States dollar is buying at 26 kwacha.33 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha.85 ngwe. I think an increase from 26 kwacha 65 ngwe, somewhere there. Euro is buying at 28 kwacha.21 ngwe and selling at 28 kwacha.77 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 32 kwacha.94 ngwe and selling at 33 kwacha.59 ngwe. The South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha.40 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha.43 ngwe. And exactly the updates come to you courtesy the time at 7:25 as of this morning. And remember that these exchange rates, they vary from one bank to bank. Even as they get to vary, be rest assured that the differences could be quite minimal. And so interesting fact is on the United States dollar kwacha relationship, as we've seen that it continues to increase and it is not showing any sign of stabilization, because we're almost hitting 27 kwacha. And this also definitely trickles down to that family member out there in Kuku compound, Chawama compound, Kalingalinga. What does it mean when it comes to the issues of ensuring that the cost of living is stabilized? What does it mean when it comes to the issues relating to the cost of doing business? I think these are issues that have been prominent over time, and we've seen also assurances coming in from the government of the day that things are going to be better. But the question is, when exactly are things going to be better?
Do we have a time frame?
Do we have a time frame that has been attached to these things becoming better?
Or we are still waiting for 5 years?
Exactly, and the concern really coming from the citizen is, you see, hunger cannot wait.
Hunger doesn't wait. And of course, the continued hunger or persistent hunger becomes poverty.
Absolutely.
So we have to be very careful.
Well, persistent hunger comes absolute poverty. Let's get to look at some of the stories that you would have missed as of yesterday's bulletin. And one of the interesting stories that we get to look at, talking about our founding father, is President Hakainde Hichilema hailing the late first president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, for his numerous contributions to the liberation and development of the country. The president said Dr. Kaunda had a heart for the people of Zambia and his work should be emulated by many. And speaking in his welcoming remarks in Muchinga province, Minister Henry Sikazwe said Dr. Kaunda and other freedom fighters provided the firm foundation through their vision and leadership to liberate the country from colonial rule. Joe.
Okay, now some senior citizens in Lusaka have urged government to emulate Zambia's founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, in fostering unity in the country, despite having different political aspirations and tribes. Now, in an interview with Camnet TV News, Lamek Chimba says government and opposition political parties should seek dialogue and offer practical solutions to the current challenges the country is facing, as opposed to politicking issues that need urgent attention. We do have a clip. We'll be right back.
On 24th October 1964, Zambia gained its independence with Dr. Kenneth Kaunda becoming the country's first president. Since this development, Zambia's economic trajectory was one to admire, as citizens could afford to buy their needs and wants with little or no struggle at all, as the purchasing power of money then was strong. Among other great strides the country was making was the full utilization of the country's key economic sectors such as the mines and agriculture. This utilization propelled the country to economic growth ranging from infrastructure development projects, stable exchange rate, and an affordable cost of living, which ultimately significantly improved the lives of many citizens. However, in recent years, the country has been subjected to quite a number of challenges in many countries, such as the economy, governance, and politics, among others, which have adversely affected the welfare of Zambian citizens. In celebrating former Republican President and Zambia's founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda's Senator Ribete, Lamek Chishimba, a senior citizen, has lamented the disunity in the country necessitated by different political aspirations. Mr. Chishimba has further called on government to emulate Dr. Kaunda in fostering unity in the country despite various differences.
He tried to lead the country with a socialist conscience, although he never opted for full socialism, but it was a mixture of socialism and capitalism. So life was nice. I think even in the present day administration, if the leaders can not neglect the social side of life, then everything will be all right for the masses. Because if you neglect the social side of life, the people will suffer so much and they will have nowhere.
Meanwhile, Patson Yapa, another senior citizen, has urged the country to continue to live by the One Zambia, One Nation motto, irrespective of the different tribes in the country.
Kaunda was there to unite the country, not to divide the country. Even the administration of today, the government of today, should learn from Kaunda, the heart of one love. Kaunda never hated anyone, even if it was one party, but still Kaunda would give everybody a chance to speak. Kaunda was never like a dictator or what, but this government today, they must also learn from Kaunda how he used to unite people, even the national team, how it used to play, because he used to play for the love of soccer, not for money. And today, it's all about money.
In times of KK, Zambia used to be on the good, the economy was good.
Today, Sunday, 28th April 2024, is former Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda's Senator Ribete, which could have seen him turn 100 years old. Chanda Mwango for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Lusaka residents there and some senior citizens they are expressing their gratitude to the late founding father of Zambia, Dr. Kenneth Buchizia Kaunda, whose day was being commemorated yesterday, Sunday, the 28th of April, as KK Day. Now, they have urged government that government should also ensure that key economic sectors such as the mines and agriculture are fully utilized to spearhead the country's economic development. And one of the citizens there, Patson Yapa, urged the country to embrace the One Zambia, One Nation motto as to unify the country. Now, Nelson, I do have a question for you. Why don't politicians behave like us football fans? I support Chelsea, Cabo Warriors, Muza FC, Nkana. You support Liverpool,
Zanaco,
and Barcelona.
But we're still able to coexist.
Yes. And yesterday, Zanaco beat Cabo Warriors. But we're seated here and you are able to coexist. So, why shouldn't politicians be like that? Why should they be so enemies?
Well, I'm looking at a time. I'm looking at a time when Zambian politics will really grow to an extent. I'd like to borrow some words that have been raised by stakeholders that Zambia's democracy is still growing, but even 60 years, even in the fact that it is growing, there's also need to ensure that at the right time we exist, because remember, there's a quote that I definitely said for Dr. Kenneth Kaunda that it is one of my favorite, that we're all equal before the Lord and we should coexist for the sake of humanity despite our differences.
Of course.
That shows the need for us to consider you, Joe, if you support a different political party or hold the different ideologies, it shouldn't make you my enemy, because at the end of it all, we're all humans. And if truly the One Zambia, One Nation motto is to be spearheaded, there's need for people that aspire to hold public offices to come in the open and really preach about peace and unity, because we're one people. And I'm looking at a time when that really is going to be a reality, because we've seen time and again politics of character assassination. For instance, if you
mudslinging,
exactly, if you say something like that, somebody will come and question it in a bad way. It's like a church is a kind of narrative.
Exactly, and when you apply critical thinking to governance matters, and you question some of the policies, for instance, if there's a government in place, then you question some of the policies that they undertake. You'll be considered to be, you are from the opposition. Why can't people have open minds where they are able to debate freely and they're able to express themselves freely regarding what they feel should be done or how certain things should be corrected? Because at the end of the day, Nelson, it is the Zambian agenda. Parties, political parties come and go. UNIP was here with its flame, it left. The MMD came with the hour, they left. The PF came with a boat, they left. We now have the UPND. We don't know who's going to come after the UPND, but political power is temporal.
Definitely, and that actually takes me to a point where I would definitely indicate to say, look, I think politicians also need to understand that before they become politicians or they endeavor to practice politics, they're citizens. First.
Okay, not the party.
Not the party, they're citizens. They're citizens, okay? And we need to remain true to one of the democratic tenets that were left unto us. And under the democratic dispensation, diversity views should also be respected.
Unity in diversity.
Yes. Just like we have different traditional ceremonies.
Exactly.
We should remain
They do not separate us.
Exactly. We should remain united, just like the way traditional ceremonies are. Because you go to this different traditional ceremony, you see different tribes coming together, different people coming together. But although maybe those traditional ceremonies might have a different belief from this particular region, you see that various people will be able to coexist.
Like for instance, we saw the recent cousinship, the Bembas and the Lozis,
exactly.
The people of Barosiland coming together with the Chitumukulu and the Litunga king of Barosiland. And we saw the new cousinship that was formed.
And automatically the Ngonis
yes,
also become
because your cousin's cousin is also your cousin.
Exactly.
And we saw how Facebook was lit ablaze. Everyone was talking about it. We are all joking about it, making fun of each other's terminologies here and there. And it united the country. Why can't we see politicians? Because at the end of the day, politicians go into that august house at National Assembly and begin to formulate laws for us. So why can't we see unity coming from amongst them, the politicians? And I think one of the things that has contributed to politicians seemingly not taking each other seriously when one leaves government or when one leaves office, it's lack of documenting what the other individuals did the time that they were in government. For instance, I need time needs to come for me to take my child to government complex at the Lusaka Museum and show them that this is the vehicle that, the Chevy that is parked there, this is the vehicle that the late founding father of Zambia used to drive. But I'm worried by the time my child reaches, let's say, 15, that vehicle would be in a more dilapidated state than it is right now. I'm thinking it was supposed to be preserved. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be preserved so that we have a referencing point. Say, this is the vehicle that our founding father used. This is the Chilenge house where he used to stay. And this is history. We can't move forward if we do not look back. You can't, for instance, erase certain people from history. It's impossible. No matter how good you are, Nelson. If you're a good footballer, for instance, let's give an example of football. If you're a good footballer or a good football administrator, you can't erase certain names from football. So the same applies to politics. The same applies to governance. You can't erase certain names from the history of Zambia's political space. So we just need to preserve. When President Hakainde Hichilema's term comes to an end, we document everything that he did, and we tell our children that he will go in history as one of the first presidents, 7th president in Zambia to not have stayed in State House, but he opted to stay at a community house. That's history, and we need to document that. So it's very important, Nelson, that we document what our presidents do in office before they leave.
And definitely, let's get to also look at a series of stories as we get to usher in our guest this morning, who is no other than Robert Bob Kaponda Sichinga, a common name that people might refer to, especially those that might be in their 40s.
A guru in politics.
Exactly, because he did serve at a point as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and then at some point also he served as Minister of Agriculture and Livestock. So let's get to look at these stories, and one of the stories is the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions has urged union leaders across the country to ensure that the private sector in the country adheres to the labor laws to bring sanity into the workspace. ZCTU President Blake Mulala observes that private sector has disregarded the country's labor laws, especially on informal employees who are subjected to work without personal protective equipment, even in dangerous workplaces such as the mines. And then another story is a story from former Minister of Defense, Ridgewell Siamunene, who has urged citizens to be wary of the leaders they put in influential positions to avoid being negatively impacted in the long run. Mr. Siamunene, who is also a mindset change activist, notes that the country's economic outlook is in decline despite having vast lucrative minerals because of some unscrupulous leaders amassing wealth at the expense of many Zambians. Let's get to look at these two stories. We're back on the other side. Keep it on Camnet. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Our labor laws are not respected, and this is something which is very, very, very surprising to us. And I want to appeal to union leaders across the country. We are elected by the membership and given the responsibility to hold offices which we have. And this responsibility, it makes us that we must be visible. We want union leaders to be visible. We should not wait for the Ministry of Labor. While yes, they have the powers, they have the law to go and carry out inspection. But most of the revelations which are coming from the inspections which are done by the Ministry of Labor, I think in one vein, it puts the blame on the trade unions leader, the trade union or the labor movement not being available. What is preoccupying us if it's not the agenda to serve the interests of the members whom we serve? We cannot be having employers today failing to provide safety PPEs, protective clothing to workers. We cannot be having mines being open today where the workers are going underground with no protective clothing. We should not allow that. But we are saying these things only when the ministry goes out to carry out an inspection, and then we become reactive. We want to urge all the unions, union leadership, especially those falling under the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions. Let's work.
Realizing that the money that the responsibility that have been given is on behalf of the Zambian people. As a result, the accumulation of wealth for themselves is a serious crime against God. Okay? When you're against people, you're against God. So that is what I'm saying, that those who are given the responsibility going forward, they should avoid accumulating wealth for themselves. They must know that the money that is there belongs to all Zambians, and they must make sure that all Zambians benefit. So that is the only way we can develop this country. With selfishness, will be a laughingstock in the whole world, because people outside there, they know that Zambians are selfish, so you can take advantage of them so that they benefit themselves. Those who are outside, they know us, they have studied us. But if we Zambians and say, look, enough is enough, and here we shall, everything that will be produced in Zambia, it belongs to Zambia, and as such it must be applied in that manner. Then those who are coming to invest, who are coming, they will know that if you are going to Zambia, you must do the correct thing.
Among various natural things that grow on the ground is cannabis, commonly known as chamba or dobo, which wears two hats, the good and the bad. In Zambia, it is considered the major contributor to substance abuse problems evidenced in the abuse of the plant. Currently, despite having laws such as the Cannabis Act No. 33 and the Industrial Hemp Act No. 34 of 2021, under the Zambian law, marijuana or cannabis is classified as a dangerous drug and is illegal to possess, as it is punishable by a fine or a prison sentence. In December 2019, Zambia legalized the cultivation, production and export of cannabis for medicinal and research purposes. This decision was motivated by the potential economic benefits the cannabis industry brings to the country. However, to date, no cultivation licenses have been issued. Recently, 3.8 tons of cannabis were destroyed by the Drug Enforcement Commission after it was seized, a situation which opposition Green Party President Peter Sinkamba has regretted. He challenges the government to urgently operationalize the Cannabis Act No. 33 and the Industrial Hemp Act No. 34 of 2021 so that the country can earn money and serve other medicinal purposes.
Because of cultivation of cannabis, which you call illegal, simply because you don't want to implement those laws which were enacted by the people to ensure that these people are able to cultivate cannabis and sell it and make money. I mean, where is the sanity to start banning 3.8 tons of cannabis instead of using that cannabis for medicinal purposes to try and heal our people, to try and make money for this country? I think this is ridiculous. Can the UPND government move for once from this notion of wanting to implement laws which only benefit themselves instead of those that benefit the entire nation? Can you please now, without wasting further time, can operationalize the Cannabis Act and the industry?
Meanwhile, a medical doctor says legalizing the cultivation and sale of cannabis for medicinal purpose is key to ensuring certain health issues are treated locally without difficulties. Dr. Teddy Mulenga argues that once legalized, guidelines will be served out to people on how the cultivation and sale of cannabis should be conducted by those that are legalized, unlike continuing to destroy them when there is a market Zambia can take advantage of.
You can use marijuana. Apart from using it in manufacturing of parts, car parts, aeroplane parts. So, we need to legalize and decriminalize marijuana. We need to change the laws surrounding marijuana, even use or availability around people. It is important to keep up with the science. So a lot of things have changed. We shouldn't remain behind. There are many countries, more than 25 states in USA, have legalized marijuana. Holland, marijuana is legalized. It's not an offense to be found with marijuana. Denmark and other countries. So we should keep up with modern, scientific thinking.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, Honorable Richo Siamunene, there and others in the stories that we covered, the stories that you might have missed. Dear viewer out there watching us from wherever you are watching us from, this is Camnet TV Breakfast Show, where we urge you to rise and thrive as we wait for our guest this morning, Honorable Bob Schinga, who's going to come and talk to so many issues economically, socially, and so many more, but all bordering on national interest. So don't go away. We want to listen to this gallant son of the soil, veteran politician. He has been around for the longest. Please do stay tuned. Nelson, Honorable Richo Siamunene says politicians shouldn't go into political office to amass wealth, cut deals for themselves, and slowly mortgage the country. That's from Honorable Richo Siamunene. Nelson.
Well,
You're taken aback.
I'm taken aback, and it makes me think about one of the stories that we conducted also during the week on the corruption fight.
Okay.
Where we've seen that the Anti-Corruption Commission wants to come up with a law now that is going to also inculcate or encompass public office bearers to declare their assets and liabilities once in office.
But this has been a song, Nelson.
This has been a song for some time.
But what's so difficult about just waking up one morning and saying we've enacted this law?
Yes. So now what happened was I decided to take some reaction from politicians such as State Council Winter Kabimba, as well as the Transparency International Zambia, who hold the view that, look, the country's fight against corruption is more of a fallacy, so long as we don't have the lifestyle audit. Because the argument is that from time independence is that we've been using the same tools, the same style of fighting corruption. When corruption, walled off, is a difficult stuff to fight.
It's a complicated work.
Exactly. So the Transparency International Zambia were advocating for the need to have a lifestyle audit because it's going to encompass the aspect of declaring your assets and liabilities when and out of the office.
Okay, wait. Since you are taken aback, let me take you aback. In the early 90s...
We did have this during the Kaunda era.
Yes. But in the early 90s, we saw a privatization coming in, and Zambia's assets were told they were undervalued. Fast forward, in the last 10 years, we are being told that when people are given contracts, they were inflating figures, right? Yes. So now, my concern is, for instance, if we have a lifestyle audit, right? Then we also have a declaring of assets on the other hand. So if, for instance, I say I'm worth 5 million kwacha, I've got assets worth 5 million kwacha, Nelson, which in actual sense is not true, because I've projected that in the next 5 years, as I'll be living, I'll have more than 5 million worth of assets, right? But when they undertake a lifestyle audit, it's going to review how much I'm actually worth. You get?
Exactly.
Yes.
And for me, I think that's also a critical question that calls, if the Anti-Corruption Commission was actually watching us or with us, I think it also calls for special tools to be put in. For instance, that's going to monitor if somebody, or for instance, if I'm a politician, I decide to inflate what I'm worth, when in actual sense that's not what I'm worth.
Exactly.
It's able to detect, to say, no, at the time you are worth this much, and what has changed is this and that.
But then I think we do have the tools. We might not have efficient tools, but I think the tools are there. Maybe we lack political will.
Political will.
But how do we come up with the Auditor General's report?
Exactly.
How do we come up with the FIC report?
That shows that also there is political will.
We're capable.
There is political will, but to some extent, it is not fully applied. Because if we're able to annually produce
A report.
A report for the Financial Intelligence Report, FIC.
FIC.
And we're also able to produce the Auditor General Report because it encompasses years.
Of course, we do have,
and that is more of a countrywide thing where
exactly.
every
individually, come on.
And then I feel capacity is there. And for me also, I think what is also disheartening is the fact that some of our laws need to be really looked at. Some of our laws really need to be looked at. I can give, for instance, corruption in China is a very serious offense.
Yes.
But here in Zambia, if I'm this individual, I'm found to have allegedly acquired or established that I acquired some properties dubiously, and then they were worth more than $30 million US, I can be sentenced or convicted for 3 years, and later on forfeit those
part of it, not everything.
Exactly, part of it maybe I forfeit, and then after 3 years I still come back and enjoy those proceeds that I was incarcerated for. I think that still does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense, even to me, Nelson, and we have seen this pan out in many cases. And the recent controversial issue is that of the 42 fire trucks. Remember the fire tenders? The Anti-Corruption Commission information reaching us is that they've cleared that case.
Wow.
Yeah. So my question is, I'm not suggesting anything though, but my question is the fight against corruption in Zambia, like you said, a fallacy? Are we playing to the gallery? To politicians like to use the word window dressing.
Window dressing.
Yes. Are we playing to the gallery? Whom are we trying to fool? For instance, if we are to ask who's fooling who, because you excite us, then the media runs with those headlines, then after some time it dies a natural death. Oh, yeah. Those headlines, we don't even know whom to pursue, to ask, give us this information regarding this particular case, Nelson. Same applies to a 24 million that has been forfeited. But before we know it, it's slowly dying. This whole thing is slowly dying. We're now being told about the Special Auditor General's report from 2006 to 2022, and we are now exhuming cases. In as much as it might be a good thing, because we are hearing allegations of one laptop costing, is it 95,000? Yeah, so
this laptop can cost 95,000.
So yeah, so we are yet to find out what really is happening. But for me, I feel, I think others have argued, Nelson, governance experts have argued that we might have we've created strong individuals, and we've allowed our institutions of governance to be weak. I don't know how members of the public and our viewers can be able to interpret that, but others have argued that yes, we have strong individuals occupying these offices, hence making the institutions weak. So we have this particular institution that is supposed to be an investigative wing, but it has got strong individuals, but the institution itself is weak. You get?
Well, I think that is a good narrative. That
so you like, if you are a board member, for instance, or a managing director,
food for thought.
Food for thought on a Monday. If you are a board member or a managing director, for instance, you have so much authority than the institution. So the laws, the rules and laws that are that govern that institution, you supersede them. You are more powerful. You get my point, such that if you are going to appoint your own child, nobody will say anything, because come on, you are the boss. You know what I mean. These are examples that are in public domain, and I'm just giving this example. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. You know what I mean. So we have created strong men occupying these institutions, but our institutions are rendered weak. We have nice laws. Even the Public Order Act, Nelson. Yes. It's a good law.
It's a good law.
It's the misapplication.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get to move on, Joe, and also maybe give an opportunity to our viewers out there that would like to call in or give us those comments via our Facebook platform. We'll be glad to hear from you, because We want you to be as interactive as you are and ensure that also you give us a particular perspective as regards to what you think should be the right trajectory with regards to some of the stories that we played unto you. And one of those interesting stories was a story bordering on the issue of the Cannabis Act as well as the Industrial Hemp Act of 2021 to be implemented, because this is a law that provides for the cultivation, the manufacturing, as well as the sale of cannabis or marijuana, or commonly known as chamba in Zambia, being sold out for medicinal purpose outside the country. So some of the arguments are that if other countries have implemented such a law, why not us? Because the Netherlands are doing it, Germany is doing it, and Malawi should be in the process of analyzing the fact of doing it to cultivate, so that also we get to cultivate or manufacture drugs out of this natural product that just comes with a lot of controversy, especially on the Zambian scene, because it is mostly associated with substance abuse. But let's also get to move on as we get to wait in for your calls, as well as those messages in terms of what you think about the particular issue, as we get to look at a story from the Community Development and Social Services Permanent Secretary, Angela Kawandami, who says the Children's Town project initiated by the Development Aid from People to People Zambia is the missing link to address the issue of street children in the country. Speaking when she visited the Children's Town project, Ms. Kawandami commends the efforts invested in transforming the lives of young individuals. Ms. Kawandami disclosed that the ministry has removed over 2,000 street children in the past 4 months through regular removal operations. An 18-year-old Bruce Chiluba, a former street child, has advised fellow young people to find purpose in life and steer clear of negative influence. We get to look at this story. We'll be back on the other side as we continue to proceed or broadcast to you on GoTV channel 25, GSTV channel 274, as well as Facebook and YouTube. We'll be glad to hear from you as well.
Children's Town is a rehabilitation home and school located in the heart of Central Province's Chivombo district, a project under Development Aid from People to People DAP, and has so far graduated over 3,000 learners from the time it was established in 1992. The center offers skills in agriculture, tailoring, metal fabrication, and home economics, among others. The facility receives children from Ndola, Kawe, Lusaka, and surrounding areas. Community Development and Social Services Permanent Secretary Angela Kawandami, speaking when she toured the center, says government is determined to improve the welfare of children, especially those that have found themselves on the streets. Ms. Kawandami says DAP is doing a great job in supporting government efforts.
It's amazing work that's been done here, and it's actually the missing link, because you can have programs where you're removing children from the streets, you put them in homes, or you reintegrate them with their families, but there's no rehabilitation that has taken place. But if you are running a program like this, where they're actually learning skills, where they're actually learning, even living in a community, so that they're developing social skills, but more importantly, they'll be ready for independent living. Beginning of the year, we have removed over 2,000. So it's quite a number, but of course then you still have new ones coming on. So that is what the cycle that we need to break.
And DAP Managing Director Elise Soresen says skills training for children is one of the keys to uplifting communities, because it provides an opportunity for learners to become productive and relevant in the areas they are coming from.
We started Children's Town because the welfare of the children have always been a big priority for the ABB in Zambia. One of the ways we have been raising funds for our projects, including Children's Town, is through the sale of second-hand clothes. So you see here, reused clothes.
Meanwhile, 18-year-old Bruce Chiluba, a former street kid, explains how he found himself on the streets of Lusaka.
street na space anije cheka wa mzimai banambo bamodwala ko panyuma manje kati cheba bali 6 bamuna babiri then abakazi bali 4 olo manje bakazi singo mbera ro manje baba badwana ko manye nije ati basarangana nitapata sarapo che ini na mfana wanga na kena mkakasuri kama na moenda na mtawa ni mtawa kairi maizi wache ijakti wana chechi chita munzawa ati paka chena ini paka nchichite ni mwenevevi machokamu peza wagawa na dumapoto ito astika nazi mkwambo pepa mtu wachita mblenya chita munga luba na vicha atambona nipamushi atambo pepa tamukala ninze kuna banzanga batatu benze bakuru parini.
And 2 other youths in the same situation share their stories and how the center has changed their lives.
Myself at the streets, it was like my mom sent me to buy some eggs, a tray of eggs. Then I went and misused that money for my own needs, and I was with my brother's bike. So I decided, I think that if I run away with this bike, then I'll be able to go to Choma to my grandmother. So that's when I decided to go run away and went to town. After I went there into the town of Lusaka, I went to Intercity. To Intercity there, I did not know that there were junkies all over. So they went and stole my bike. That's how I found myself at the street.
Future of Bruce and other 62 children who have attended rehab at DAP Children's Center in Chivombo district is now certain, as they are acquiring skills in agriculture, metal fabrication and tailoring. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News.
Okay, thank you so much for still joining us on the Breakfast Show on Camnet TV. Now to our main interview where we host a veteran politician. Now we are talking about Honorable Robert Kenneth Kaponda Schinga, who's going to give us his reflections on Zambia's economic, social situation, and of course the great opportunities that this country is currently missing, or where it needs to correct itself. And also about Honorable Schinga, he was trained in UK as a chartered accountant and studied management at Harvard University in Boston in the United States of America, USA. And also he worked as a senior member of the ZCCM management, and he too was a founder of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD. He was a member of parliament, and he was also the UPND vice president under the leadership, of course, of Mr. Anderson Kambela Mazoka. Now, Mr. Schinga brings a wealth of experience to the political space, governance space, and obviously to the social and economic space in Zambia. Honorable, good to see you. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much indeed for having me, and thank you for inviting me to the program. And also good morning to the viewers, and thank you also, Nelson, for being here with us. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Honorable, first things first, we have seen a lot happening, especially in the mining sector.
Right.
Now, we want to get your views, obviously, Honorable. You are aware, for instance, Mopani being acquired by a new investor. There has been some controversy saying that this particular deal was supposed to be taken to Parliament to be ratified. Right. You are a former member of Parliament, Honorable. Just bring us up to speed, your views regarding this particular deal as we continue looking at the mining sector.
Well, thank you so much indeed for having me. And maybe just for, you have done the introductions, but maybe just to alert our viewers, I worked for ZCCM for 10 years. In fact, I started with Ron Consolidated Copper Mines, which was RCM, and I had the opportunity. The very first assignment I did was to prepare a proposal for the establishment of the cobalt plant at Chambeshi. Soon after that, after 3 months or so, I was moved to Mufulira. I was mine secretary and division of financial control, the first Zambian to take that position in 1977.
Okay.
And I was at the age of 28. So I spent a lot of good time, I think, at Mufulira. I learned a lot. And that was before I went to Harvard. And then I went to Harvard Business School, came back. And then the two companies subsequently joined in 1982 to form the ZCCM, NCCM and RCM. So, and I did rise definitely to a high position in that. I was group financial controller. Subsequently, the last job I did was that of controller of reorganization and management information systems. That was my final assignment. But I think more importantly, it's an understanding. The 5 years I spent at Mufulira, I think were extremely educative for me to understand what was going on in the mining sector, and even rising to the group financial controller for accounting and audit, together with Honorable Emmanuel Hachpuka. He was my colleague on the other side. He was in charge of the treasury initially until he finally became director of finance of ZCCM. So I think we can tell a story. I think we have got a very, very comprehensive understanding of what is happening there. I think that you've raised the issue of the two mining companies. I think that KCM and Mopani. And I want to comment this, that, and I want to advise certainly the existing government and even subsequent governments that will come into our country. The economy works as a unit. Although we have components of it, you've got the sectors that are producing. You've got the sectors like agriculture, for example, like the mining, for example, like manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Although they are treated separately, in essence, they work together. The one reflects the other. And the responsibility of any government, and I say that in this case, the government normally is the cabinet that you constitute, but beyond that, you've got the officials that you work with in those ministries, to govern the system. So the advice normally, that the decisions that are taken normally, they take into consideration the advice of the officials. For example, the permanent secretaries, the directors, and so on and so forth. They submit to the minister. Although the minister is in charge of policy, at the end of the day, they depend on the advice and their own knowledge. So in this case, if you've got some knowledge about the particular sector, it's a great help, because you already have intimate information about what is taking place in that particular sector. And we shall talk about agriculture in due course, as you've indicated. So in this particular case, the issue, let's start with KCM, because I think that is the one that we started, was started with first. Vedanta was originally not a mining company. Vedanta, owned by Mr. Agawa and so on and so forth. I, as member of parliament, and at the particular time, around 2000, when the privatization of the mining sector was being done, I was a member of various committees, and I chaired the Economic Affairs and Labour, and that committee of Parliament was in charge, obviously, of overseeing the issues of the productions area. And we did visit the Copper Belt, and we went round and had a look at it again, even after I departed from ZCCM in '86. And it confirmed, to me, what I had been saying all along. Fortunately for me, in 1971, please take note of that, I was part of the team that went to do the study when the government of the Republic of Zambia under President Kaunda took over the mining sector. So I was there when nationalization was taking place. I was there when the privatization was taking place, and I could compare. And the truth of the matter is this: whether we like it or not, Zambia is a mining country. That's the bottom line. Whether you like it or not, that impacts the economy, that drives the economy, that has got, it influences the outcomes. The second point that I think we need to take note of is that we're an import-oriented country until we can change our structure of the economy to be more industrial production-based. Now, this was attempted by President Kaunda and his team to industrialize the country. When you industrialize the country, that means that you are less dependent, except for the inputs that you might require. You are making use of the resources that you have internally, and therefore that creates an impetus within the country to produce from your resources. You make use of what you have. So in this particular case, I'm talking about mining. I'm talking about, in particular, mining of copper.
Okay.
We are dependent as a country on that aspect. Let's just make it very clear, and I really will not entertain any discussion on the matter. It's a fact of life. The statistics, if you look at the government report, it's called the economic report. Every year the government produces this economic report from the Ministry of Finance. It explains to you, it's always mining that is at the top. Now, because of that, all your foreign currency is earned by the mining industry, except in the latter years when agriculture has been improving. It has taken a little bit more in terms of the import, the exports of your agricultural commodities and other commodities, and because of that, it has contributed to the basic supplier of forex, which is the mining sector. Now, if you are going to make investments, where should you make the investment as a country in that environment? Where would you? My training as an accountant, also as a business manager, is that you invest in the areas which will give you the highest return for your money. And in this particular case, what we have in our hands, what is in our control, is the copper that is in the ground. That is belonging to the Zambian people. So when you make the decision, you need to say to yourself, how will I be able to earn the income that enables my country to have sufficient resources to buy the medicines, to pay for the importation of equipment, the machinery that is needed in the mining sector and elsewhere, to pay for the medical equipment, to pay for all the things that we require, which we ourselves are not producing.
Okay. Now, Honorable, just on that one, I want to find out, armed and equipped with this knowledge, why have we seen successful governments, for instance, giving mining companies tax holidays? And I keep asking this question, Nelson. In 2020, during the presidential address to Parliament, former President Edgar Lungu did agree, and it is on record, that when it comes to a negotiating table, government is always twisted by mining companies. It is on record. And fast forward, we are seeing, let's say, mixed reactions from members of Parliament and from some citizens that, for instance, the Mopani deal was supposed to go through Parliament to be ratified. Why are we seeing these anomalies? But when we are also armed and equipped with the information that you are giving.
Not everybody is armed with that information. To some extent, President Lungu had the benefit. He had worked in the HCCM. All right, he had risen up to the level of deputy company secretary. Okay. So he obviously had some understanding of what was taking place. He's not a minor, but neither were many of us. But he had obviously a good understanding of that. So presumably from that basis, he had this particular information. But let me say this: you have raised two issues. Number one, you've talked about why are we being allowing ourselves to be arm-twisted. In many instances, it is not because people do not know.
Okay.
It's not because people do not know. It's because there's other issues behind the scenes that are taking place, okay? And we're going to come to that in a short while. Okay. So, for me, we should never ever, as a country, if I was making a decision, if I was president, if I was the minister of mines, if I was advising the president, I would never advise him to give away the sales, because that's your source of livelihood. That's the source of what you need to hold. That's what sustains your country. So for me, if you are talking about the issues of investment, the argument has been we don't have enough money. No, I disagree with that completely. There are methods by which, Nelson, you can be able to draw in resources because there's no mining without the ore in the ground. There's no mining.
Okay.
There's no mining without the ore being in the ground in the first place. And where is that ground? The ground is here in this country, either in the deep mines, all right, or in the open pits.
So we call the shots.
Yeah, we call the shots. And I don't know why we're even having this problem.
But the argument has been that we as Zambians don't have capacity.
The capacity.
But all the time, well, I know that has been said so many times. That is a complete lie, and I want to declare to this nation that is a complete lie.
You don't subscribe to it?
No, I don't, and I know so.
Okay.
I'm not just subscribing to it. I know so. I worked on the mines. I worked on the mines. I was in a mine. Every month I would go underground at Mufulira mine.
For 10 years.
for the 5 years that I was at Mufulira.
Okay.
All right, I would go there. But also, the understanding is this: you can bring in capital. These investors that come, that we are trying to attract, they don't use their money. I want to tell you that, as a matter of fact. When the two mining companies were joined in 1982, I was part of the team that went out of this country to go and rearrange, to reschedule the dates and so on and so forth. The issue that we're just going through now, I was part of that team.
Okay.
So I can tell you honestly and truthfully that none of these mining companies use their own money. What they do is they come and collect this information from you and say, this is where the product is, this is where the mine is going to be located, this is where we have, based on the geological information that we have, this is what the ore body that we want to exploit. And then they put this proposal forward to investors that have got pension funds and so on and so forth and say, please lend us 10 billion, 20 billion, we are operating this mine. So they borrow from there, okay? How about the years that we were running the mines? How about people like myself that were on the mines and several others? I mean, I can give you names. People like Emmanuel Mtati, people like Obano Mtati, people like Gilbert Temba, people like Chileshe that were running Rwansha mine and Nkana mine. There were Zambians that were running these mines. So you cannot tell me that Zambians can't run them, because who goes underground?
It's a Zambian.
It's the Zambians. Who brings out the ore? Who are the engineers? My own young brother, Christopher Stinga in Rwansha, was one of the engineers that was actually responsible for the electronics and the analysis and so on and so forth. I can tell you, I can give you names upon names upon names, but we don't have the time for that.
Okay.
Let me come to the issue that you have raised. For me, if ZCCMIH, which has been created as a holding company on behalf of the government, can do exactly what these investment companies are doing, they can go to the market. They can say, we've got these mines in our country. We are owned by the government. We are representing the government interests. We are representing the national interests. We have come to you. We want to borrow money from you. Or work together with those that are using the copper, if you want. They use it for production. And say, you want copper from us? We want you to join hands with us.
Okay.
Right? We'll do a joint venture with you. We will own 60% because it's ours. We do not want minority holding. No. 40%. Let me ask you this question. If you ask the Americans to come and join you at that level, do you think they'll say no?
I don't think they would say no.
How about the Chinese? If you ask them, come and join us, you want our copper, we are prepared to join hands with you, we own 60%, you own 40%. What do you think they would have said no?
They would come running.
They'll come running. All of them will come running. So I'm saying to you, this is the biggest mistake that we've ever made in terms of running our country. What happens that whoever controls the mine has control over the forex, correct?
Correct.
So how will you get forex to buy your medicines? Where will you get the forex to purchase the equipment, the motor vehicles, and every import that you have? Where will you get it from?
So why are we allowing
to buy? It means that you've got, just what? You have to buy from those that own. So even when President HH was saying that, oh, now we own 49%, the others have got 51%, who controls? The one with 51%, that's the normal thing. So what do they do with money? You think they have come here to come and develop Zambia? You think the investor comes here to develop Zambia? Do you think so? They come here to make a profit. That's simple, straightforward. I mean, you don't even have to debate that matter. That's the way it is. So as far as the Constitution is concerned, this thing was changed as a result of the experience we had with Anglo-America.
Okay.
You cannot have just one person, a president, saying, we in my cabinet, I would like us to decide that now we are going to dispose of a mine. It's a major, major asset of the country.
Okay.
And because of that, the provision in the Act, I think it's 2002, Article 2002, if memory serves me right, it said you cannot dispose. Now, disposing is not just necessarily just one form. It takes many forms, whether you are buying shares, whether you are starting a new mine, and in other words, initiating a mine. We should have a policy in this country. That's my advice to HH's government and any other government that comes thereafter. All right? Never ever own minority in a resource that is natural endowment, which is your source of major foreign currency. Because if you don't have that, what happens to your currency? What has happened to the kwacha? What's happening to the kwacha right now?
No, so this
no,
is
no,
why
let's
we're having
just agree.
problems with
Let's
the budget.
conclude that, because before we go to the next level, let's conclude this, because this is a fundamental starting point. What do you think is happening to the kwacha? Let's deal with that.
Fluctuation.
It's fluctuating. No, it's not even fluctuating. It's almost constantly deteriorating.
Yes, exactly.
Today is at what rate?
26.
It was 6.6 the other day. Today is 26. Tomorrow it will be at 27. What is that doing to the currency?
Weakening.
It's weakening the currency. And when you have a weak currency, what happens to the prices? You need more kwacha to pay for the imports that you need, right?
Exactly.
So when you pay more, what happens to the prices? What happens to the citizens? What happens? Their value of whatever they have is completely lost.
So it becomes hard to lower the cost of living.
Exactly, it does. It is going to increase prices. It is going to lower the value for the people. And this is what is happening. That constantly we devalued our currency. We rebased. The term was used as rebase. It was a devaluation. Okay? So if you continue to do this, who is the beneficiary? Who is the person who is gaining from this? It's the foreign investor. They're not going to come to this country, invest their money, and expect they'll lose money. No, they won't do that. But so just let's finish this particular issue. Because of that, you need to control the foreign currency. You don't have to go to the investor to buy the foreign currency, which is actually being generated by your own country. Not only that, it's even worse than that. You have also reduced the mineral royalty tax, which is a tax, if you want, on the ore that is being taken from the ground. And that ore is not renewable. Once it's taken from the ground, it becomes an open pit. You leave it like that. Go to Kalengwa and you'll see what happened. So what I'm saying to you is that these things work together. You have to look at the dynamics. What are the consequences of our decisions? Now, the law is very, very clear. When you are involved with disposal, or indeed, for that matter, an acquisition of such a major asset, right?
National asset.
National asset. Because it doesn't belong to any individual. You need to go back to Parliament and say, colleagues, this is what we want to do as government policy. That's how government works. You say, we are bringing this matter to you so that we can have a collective thing. When privatization started to take place in around 2000, this law, the World Bank had come back and said, we want this thing to go to Parliament. Why? Because Parliament must have a say. Parliament is representative of the people. So I understand, I hear the Attorney General had said he didn't think that this needed to go to Parliament. I will not comment on what the Attorney General said.
Okay.
In government, there is no way an Attorney General can say something contrary to what the government has done.
Okay.
Unless he wants to lose his job. Okay? It won't happen. So ways are found to couch the words in such a way that it represents that what government has done is legal and legitimate. My view, as a former member of Parliament, as a member of the Committee on Economic Affairs and Labour, and as a legislator, I can tell you this very clearly. That provision is applicable to this transaction.
Now, but you've been around since 1971
for the longest
in the mining sector, and also you've been part of this administration. There are also
no, I'm not part of this administration. No, it's not correct. But maybe I've been
previous administration,
previous governments. Yes. And only one, by the way, only one that I was where I was a minister.
Yes.
But I'm talking about if you're a member of Parliament, yes, I am.
He was minister during the Patriotic Front, and
yes, but not minister of not minister of mining. I was Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Yeah.
But one might argue to say you had all this rich information. Was it also disposed of in terms of advice, in terms of how we can improve the mining sector?
It's a fair question. Okay. Let me say this to you, that when you are a minister, you are responsible for your portfolio.
Okay.
Right? Now, what comes to the table, you can raise an issue. Mostly the agenda is constituted by Cabinet Office, from what the ministers want to submit, or the president will put forward and say, this is our policies, that's what we talked about, these are the promises we made to the people, we are going to have to deal with this at the next. Minister such and such, can you bring this matter to the table so that we can discuss it? Okay? So in my particular case, I have, in fact, if you look at the contribution that I made as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, is very clear. In fact, before that, in 2000, the statements that I made in Parliament are on record.
Okay.
They're in the Hansard. I made it very clear. I did not agree with the decision to sell the mines. I did not agree with it. And I warned my colleagues In particular, I want to specifically say, my colleague who was Minister of Finance at the time was Katele Kalumba. And I warned him, I said, Katele, don't do it. Don't do this, because it will come back to haunt us, and it is haunting us right now. Okay? So you're asking me about my advice. I am not representative of a cabinet as a whole cabinet. You can advise your colleague. You can raise the matter in cabinet.
And you
the
did
president,
that?
And yeah, I did that. I've done that. And I think that I'm on record. I think everybody knows that I have been on this issue for years at end. And I have continued to say that. That's why I agreed to come to this interview. I want to make it very clear. At no time have I agreed with giving away our minds. Because that's giving away your family jewels, Nelson. This is the truth of the matter. Now, there are also other issues that you want to raise. All right? So, just for agriculture, for example, if I'm Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, I cannot go and start interfering in the Ministry of Agriculture unless I'm Minister. But when the matter comes to Cabinet, at that point in time, I can raise issues. No, colleagues, this is not correct, this is not correct. If there's no agreement within Cabinet, what tends to happen is the Minister responsible is insistent. You can discuss it outside. There are committees of Cabinet, by the way. And then also you can go to the President and say, sir, what we're doing is not going to be good for the country. Because he has got also his team. He has got his team within his ministry. So you may see that as ministers change, some policies also change. So I did some changes as far as the Ministry of Agriculture is concerned, just as an example.
Okay.
Right? NCZ was not being used as extensively as it should have been. I decided to rehabilitate it, which I did.
Okay.
In 2013, the NCZ at Kafue was rehabilitated, and it started to produce 51% more than it used to before.
Okay.
Right? So you can, I'm now answering your question. Even if I had come from commerce, what I discovered, what my experience, what my knowledge said to me was that this needed to be corrected. And that's what I did. And that's why you saw that in 2013, we started distributing fertilizer in June. In June. By September, we'd finished the basil. And then by October, we'd finished also top dressing. That's why in 2014, you saw there was a substantial increase in the production of maize. I also decided, as minister, taking into account the advice of what I had in terms of the stocks that were at FRA and elsewhere, I decided we were not going to sell everything to Congo. We were going to sell millennium. Same to Zimbabwe, same to Tanzania, same to Malawi. There was a lot of demand from other countries, similar to the situation we have right now. I took the decision that the minimum stocks we should have in the country was equivalent to 2 years.
Okay.
How much is 2 years stock for the country? We consume 1,250,000 metric tons as a country. Katanga consumes about 750,000, at least at that time, 750,000 metric tons. So the two places, Katanga and Zambia, were consuming 2 million metric tons of maize every year. So for me, my minimum that I wanted was to keep at least a year's supply.
Okay.
So whatever was excess to that is what we could sell to other countries. For example, Zimbabwe needed help. The president sent us there with the vice president. We supplied. Malawi wanted help. We did the same. Tanzania wanted help. We did the same. But within the limits of what was going to ensure that we've got sufficient stocks, because that is what the responsibility of the minister is.
Before we even jump into details in terms of the agriculture sector,
let's just go back a little bit. Let's go back to the mines.
Okay,
let's go back to the mines.
No,
it's important because this is critical, and I think it's important for us to recognize this. Let us go. You've not talked about Mopani sufficiently.
Yes.
Let me talk about Mopani.
Please.
Let me talk about Mopani. Mopani was purchased by Glencore, Swiss company. Right? Again, against my advice, against my desire as an individual, as a citizen, okay, against my knowledge and my advice to my colleagues, it was sold
to Glencore.
To Glencore.
Okay.
Now, Glencore, because of all the challenges that they were having globally, they decided to dispose of that interest. But in the agreement, and that is now under Lungu government, not even under HH, under Lungu government, they decided that they agreed to say that Glencore was going to continue to collect 80% of the production. Why would you ever agree to such a nonsense?
80%?
80%. And these agreements are never brought to Parliament. When I was chairing the Economic Affairs and Labour, we asked, where are the development agreements? We had to struggle to get those agreements. And then you read through them and you say, how could any human being who is a Zambian, patriotic Zambian, agree to these terms? After Glencore had agreed with Zambian government with our agreement that they should continue to get 80%. Why would anybody agree to that nonsense? Why? Because the ore that is in the ground is yours. It belongs to the country. It does not belong to the mining company.
Honorable, are there kickbacks involved?
Sorry?
Are politicians getting kickbacks for them to make such a questionable deals?
I question that. Well, let me say this. I cannot say to you that, I cannot make such a statement because I have no specific facts to say this one collected this much, or this one collected that much, or this one collected. But in terms of my training as an auditor, as a forensic auditor, it is quite clear to me something is taking place in the background.
Behind the curtains?
Behind the curtains. Okay? Because there's no way that any sensible politician, shall we say, any patriotic citizen can agree to those terms. That's for me. I am not able to say to you, oh, Mr. Such and Such got so much out of it. Because clearly they do it out of in secrecy. They're not going to come out in the open and tell you this, we paid this much and this much and this much. Okay? But I'm just saying to you, it is quite clear to me something odd is going on in the background. Okay? I may not be able to put my finger on it. Or if I do, it is information that is very tenuous to present to a court of law.
Okay.
All right? So what I'm saying to you is that even without that, even if they were not collecting anything out of it, these terms are not wise terms to agree to. So it may be a lack of wisdom. So I'm talking about Glencore. And they are saying that they are sending, if you look at all the documents, they say they are exporting that copper to Switzerland. Not a single ton of copper from Zambia was exported to Switzerland.
What was
not
it?
one.
What was it again?
All right, this is the whole point. Why do you do that? Because the subsidiaries of Glencore were now responsible for reselling. Why doesn't Zambia sell it itself? We had a company here, you're too young to probably know this. We had a company here called Memako, Metal Marketing Corporation, which was selling on behalf of Zambia. Okay? Why not continue to do that? So that the resources that are the proceeds from the sale can come back to the country. When they come to Bank of Zambia, that's when you can now decide, okay. But you can't do that. They'll say, but we own the mines. We own 51% of the mines. Why do you want to control our money?
Oh, yeah.
That's what they'll say to you. That's why ownership is key. I was shocked last year to hear my colleagues at Ministry of Finance saying that they were going to release 20% of their holding in Kansanshi mine, right? What ZCCM IH was holding. How can you do that? Not even 20%. Some of the other mines on the copper belt, on in Insolwest, Northwestern, we don't even have a shareholding of any kind, whether it's Barrick Gold or others. It's you don't own. He who owns the means of production controls your economy.
Exactly. So
in this
simple,
regard,
simple as that.
In this regard, Honorable, you have a perspective that the Mopani deal, to some extent, is really not much beneficial.
It is not a good deal.
No, he's not saying it's not beneficial. He's saying it's not a good deal.
It's not a good deal. Neither is that of Vedanta. It is not a good deal. What is it that Vedanta will do now that they couldn't do before? Tell me. Show me.
Vedanta is saying they want to sell shares.
No. Just before the selling of shares.
Okay.
Vedanta does not have money right now. Look, I read. This is what I do. That's what I'm trained for. I've been in the field here, in the field of business, for 55 years. So this is what I do for a living.
That's a long time.
Okay? And I'm telling you, Vedanta does not have the money. But because they've acquired these shares, which is a disposal, which should go to Parliament. Okay? If they've acquired these shares, they can decide. You can't stop them. The shares are quoted on the stock exchange. We are selling part of our shareholding. What are you going to do as a country? This is why I'm saying to you, these are bad deals. We need to go back and we must ask ourselves, what is there for our children? What is there for our
I was about to ask that question.
What is in it for us as a country?
What happens 30 years from now?
Yeah, that's why I've agreed to come here. What will happen to my grandchildren? Even your children, even you at your age, you're young people. At least in my case, maybe I've got another 5 years to live, another 10 years to live, at most, if God wills. Okay? I'll go back.
But what happens to the coming generation?
To build a country, we cannot forego key things that are important for us as a people. No, it is wrong. Because what means would you have to import medicines for your children in the hospitals? Right now, go to the clinics. You go and do the research. You go there. The cost of living, people are struggling. People can't make ends meet right now.
And the monthly basket for a family of 5 has increased to about 10,000.
10,000. How many people earn 10,000?
And
so I'm saying to you, so what would you do to correct that situation? What are you putting forward as a political party? All right? As a government, as a political party that is in government, as a political party that is in opposition, what are you offering? That's what I'd like to hear from my colleagues that are vying for to run government. I'm waiting to hear from them in their manifestos. What will they do differently?
Some are saying they're coming to reverse the Mopani due when they come.
And then what?
That's the question. That's why the conversation ends.
Yeah, for me, you know, I'm on record. You can read the Daily Mail. When I was Minister of Commerce, I said we should stop the export of copper.
Okay.
And take all that copper and convert it into finished products. In other words, add value. We did not stop at that. We produced a document in 2012, 2013. We produced a document, government document. It's on record, and I've got it available. I wish I had enough time when I was rushing to come here. I would have taken a copy of it. It is called Industrialization and Job Creation.
So even government has that copy?
It is a government document.
Oh, no.
It was being done through the office of the Vice President because it involved many other ministries. Okay, but it was initiated by Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to create remember we said we'll create 1 million jobs? So that was part of that assignment under President Sata. That was my responsibility as minister in terms of creating those jobs on that side. I was part of the team that needed to create those jobs. My concept is that we must take that copper. Don't export it, because in that copper, for your information, Nelson, in that copper, there is gold, there's silver, and there's palladium. When I was working at Mufulira mine, we used to take the slimes, you know the slimes, the stuff that drops to the bottom of the tank house. The tank house is refinery, okay? We used to send that to Ndola Copper Refinery. The Ndola Copper Refinery would reprocess it and produce gold, silver, and palladium. The gold was going to Bank of Zambia. What does that do to your currency? It strengthens your currency. How about the silver? Making ornaments. That's what we used to do. I mean, it was being done here by Zambians.
But we've been told we don't have the capacity already.
But I've just told you. I've just told you.
What other names keep on telling
But I'm telling you they are wrong. No, they don't know. I am telling you.
So it's
as one that has worked there, it is not true to say that we don't have the expertise. Now, I've just shared with you who goes into the ground.
The Zambian.
Who is the sectional engineer?
The Zambian.
Who is the superintendent in the mining? Who is the superintendent in the concentrator? Who is the superintendent in the smelter? Who is the superintendent in tank house?
It's the Zambian.
The Zambians. So
let's go through.
So my argument, I really want us to emphasize this point, because until we correct this, the other issues that you're raising are consequential. Okay? They are we must deal with the fundamentals. Where do we get our resource from? Why are you giving away the family jewels, for crying out loud, children of God? Why? Why do we do that? Because where else are you going to get this resource? Even let's go to mining, which is to agriculture.
Yes, agriculture is
an important issue. All right. What do you need for agriculture? You need land. You need water. Do we have them?
Yes, absolutely.
So why are not producing?
But we've been hit with a drought, and now.
All right. Where is the drought?
In some parts of the country.
The southern part of our country.
Yes.
This area is unfortunately southern province. Well, people of southern province are great maize producers, great agricultural people. The Kalomo was the biggest producer of maize.
Okay.
Because of the drought, this production capacity has shifted to Petauke. All right? Why? Because our country is a one-season production, employs a one-season production system.
Okay.
The area with the lowest rainfall is Gwembe. It has less than 600 millimeters of rainfall. the one with the highest rainfall is in the northeast.
Okay.
Chiengi, northwestern, okay, with 1,800 millimeters of rain. So what would you do? If you were Minister of Agriculture, what would you do?
I will focus on...
You focus in the areas where you've got the water.
Yes.
The whole of this area from, I think, Lundazi, Muchinga, going on to northern province, going on to Wapula, and so on and so forth. But Muchinga, northern, Wapula, northwestern, they grow mostly cassava. Okay? So it means you've got to have a program which says now we're going to do a shift.
Okay.
We're going to go to this side. So if you look from Kapirimposhi going towards that side, you find that the rain pattern changes even on the copper belt.
Yes, yes.
So that's where you focus. If you don't have a program in place, it will not happen on its own. It doesn't happen on its own.
It's not magic.
No. You have to deliberately say this is what we're going to do. Now, Wapula has got so much water. All right? That river is flowing. The water is flowing into the Congo. Why don't you tap into it? The water that you see in the Kafue River, and my colleagues keep talking about drought even in the Kafue River. The bulk of that water is coming from the mine in Chirabombo.
Okay.
Okay? That's where the biggest ore reserve of copper is. We share that with Congo. Okay? That's why you see that as we come to Solwezi, on our side we say Solwezi, on the other side they say Kolwezi.
Kolwezi, yes.
It's the same.
Yes.
It's the same people, because before the borders were made by the whites,
It was the same people.
it was the same people. So I'm saying to you, that water which is coming from that mine, because you have to dewater it, where does it go? It is thrown in the Kafue River.
In the Kafue River.
Why don't we create a dam across before it comes to Iteteji? Iteteji has got a dam. What did we do? There was no power station at Iteteji before. Now there is a power station on either side of the river. 60 megawatts on the southern side, 60 watts on the northern side, 120 megawatts. Why don't we put another dam up? If we put up another one up, it means that we're now creating that water. When it comes from Iteteji, where does it go? Kafue Upper.
Okay.
Right? Produces what? The power. Now we've had the second one, that is Kafue Lower.
Lower, yes.
Right? Using the same water. Are you with me?
Yes.
So it requires strategic thinking on our part. If we create another dam up there, which is going to give us a drop that we need in order to generate power, how many times will we have used the water? 4 times. And here we are, the PF government was saying, the ministers, do you want us to go and pee in the river? And so, it's such derogatory terms. No, let's find real solutions to the challenges before us. It won't happen without us thinking through. We must be strategic. There are enough guys who have trained now. We're not like in the Kaunda era. Those people did not have the level of education and educated people that we have now. Yet they did such a fantastic job.
With less education.
With limited education. I hope we're together.
Yes.
So I'm saying to you, we have a greater opportunity than they had. And may their souls rest in peace. And I thank President Kaunda. Without him, I would not have been educated. I would not have gone to UK to get a degree in accountancy. I would not have gone to Harvard Business School. Okay? And there's several other people in between that have been a great help, certainly in my personal life. And when I went to Harvard Business, one of the things I learned the most, the thing that benefited me the most, is how our colleagues in the developed countries, they look forward 50, 100 years, 200 years ahead.
Why can't we adopt that model?
Well, because you have to ask the leaders, the people that are in power, in corridors of power. I'm not in power. I'm just a citizen. All I'm doing is I'm contributing. And because I know what is good for the country in my mind, I am very clear. I can tell you that. And I have no doubt in my mind, if we adopted some of these measures that I'm talking to you about, we can turn around this country, even within between 10 and 20 years. How has China done it?
Authorization has been given in terms of the import of white
GMO.
They say non-GMO maize to be imported from other countries.
After
about 1 million tons was sold out.
Well, let me say this. I mean, I want to apologize to my brother, Brother Mtolo, Honorable Mtolo. I don't mean to to underestimate the responsibilities he has. I would not have sold the maize.
Not under your watch?
No, which is what I did. You can go and check the records of Minister of Agriculture. We agreed there was a certain quantity that we could spare.
Okay.
For me, it was not maize we should have been exporting. It was meal.
The finished product.
Finished product. Just like I'm saying for copper. Make the copper product. If you
So
make
it
a
is
copper
possible,
product, that copper product, my dear nephews, you're here. That copper product, if we produced it, it will give you 10 times, between 8 and 11 times the value of what you sell copper. Also, when you say, you've seen these trucks that are carrying this
Yes.
big blister copper, this
Yes.
like this molds, lumps of copper.
Yes.
It's called blister copper. In there's gold. In there's palladium. In there's silver, which is what we were doing at Ndola Copper Refinery. And I'm saying we, because I was part of that.
You are
team.
part of it, yes.
So what I'm saying to you is that even if a president has never worked on the mines, there are many of us that are here. We're still alive. And
You can be consulted.
Yeah, no, look, my mental mind is very clear. I'm not senile. I'm very clear. I may be 75, but I can tell you, I'm very clear in my mind. It can be done. How do we do it? We don't have money. Yeah, but that's for us to find out. How about the people who buy it from us? Do they have money? Yes, they have. Do they want the product? Yes, they do. Can I leave it there? You know where I'm going.
Yes,
All right? So if they want my product, what will they do? They'll be willing to collaborate with me. But I'm not giving them the lion's share. No. I'm taking 60%, 75%. You can take 25% or 40% maximum. Take it or leave it. No negotiation.
We're about to close in 5 minutes.
Can we not add a few 10 minutes?
One of the things that is on top of one of the things that is on top of our viewer out there that are watching us is the high cost of living, the continued fluctuation of the kwacha, the cost of doing business, the ever-rising meal price, as well as youth empowerments that have come in handy, especially when we talk about the constituency development fund. But when we talk about all these issues relating to the cost of living, fluctuation of the kwacha, cost of doing business, the ever-rising price of meal, and we've seen a model being carried out through the Ministry of Defense using the Zambia National Service. Have they started? Honorable, you are aware of what is the general order?
Excuse me. Well, let me put it this way. When I said we have to develop strategies, right? I was not exclusive to one.
Okay.
I'm talking about the many ways in which we can do these things. Now, what was Zambia National Service created for?
Okay.
What was it created? Yeah. What was it created for? To create discipline, to create some skill arrangement, people knowing how to handle a firearm and so on and so forth. We had a different situation at the time, which was the threat of South Africa, running over. Right? We had to create ourselves, a capacity of some kind. For me, if I was doing it today, I would convert the whole of Zambia National Service into a different structure. I would create the Zambia National Youth Skills Agency from it. Yes, there will be discipline. You guys, in your training, because of your generation, how many of you have done metal work in secondary school? You never did metal work. Have you done?
No.
Did you do agriculture?
No.
At 8, I was a young farmer. At 8 years old.
8 years?
8 years.
Wow.
I belonged to a Young Farmers Club. I knew how to produce carrots. I knew how to produce Chinese cabbage. Every primary school, I'm talking about primary. I'm not talking secondary.
No.
Every primary school had a mine farm, had a school farm. Okay? Which we used to plow. Many of the schools that were built in my day were built by us, the students, during holidays. Do you know how to make bricks from clay? Do you know how to do it? I do. Do you know how to bend them? All right? No, you don't. I'm just saying, this is what I'm saying, that every child that goes in school must learn this. Metalwork, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. I was
in primary school.
In primary school, in standard 3, I was asked to go and make a chair for my mom. A chair for my mom in standard 3. I was 11. No, in fact, I was actually 9.
9. Okay.
Okay, in standard 3. Because we had sub A, sub B, standard 1, standard 2, 3. So in standard 3, I made a chair to go and give to my mom. My teacher was Mr. Mbabara. I can tell you that. He taught us how to use a hand plane. Have you ever used a hand plane? Have you used a chisel? So what I'm saying is that until you have got skills, this is what China did. They reoriented their economy, trained their people to use their hands, and created the blue-collar cadres. If you don't know how to do bricks, to lay the bricks, right now, my guys work in my house, I can tell them, this thing is not straight, this wall is not straight. I can tell them. I use a split level. Have you ever used a split level?
No.
You haven't. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. So when you come to secondary school, that's where now you're going to do the research. You must be able to do these things on your own with these other people helping you. So the Zambia National Service, I would convert it to that kind of structure where we're doing now, using Teveta. Every single child that is coming out of that, we give them 3 years national service, 4 years national service, but connect it to the qualifications of universities. All right? So that they are not left out. They will come out of there with their certificates, with their diplomas, higher national diploma. They'll come out of there with their degree, all right, an honors degree, a master's. They'll come from there, from national service. They can do that. You identify the skills that they have. Now, if we don't even start, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to remain the way it is. Without skills, you will not do the corporate schemes that I'm talking about.
Is the future bright then, Honorable, if we are neglecting such?
No, at the moment it's not bright because I'm not seeing these schemes. It's not bright. I will not tell lies to you that it's bright. No, it is not bright. But if we implement, if we agree, if we work and design and devise these programs, and what has happened at Zambia National Service illustrates what can be done. It didn't have to be GMO.
Okay.
Why do you want to have GMO? Well, you know what GMO does? It means you have genetically changed.
Yes.
Its creation, it's being. Is that what you want?
Not at all.
Have you got the skills for that?
In the interest of time,
So Nelson, this is important for us to do. And I want to tell you this much. These things must be changed. They are not going to happen on their own. They don't. Let's in fact, I think we should have remained on one party, and then we can see one party state, and then we can see and say, let's create something that's good for the country, rather than spending time on the competition of political parties. Because frankly, I have not seen much of a change.
So you're advocating for one party state?
I'm not advocating. I'm just saying that maybe it was better for us to have done that, because what I'm saying is that we are fighting for positions. Rather than dealing with the problem of the country.
And when we're given
maybe 5 years is too short a time to change everything. But we need to have consensus. We need to have agreement. We need to put the interest of the nation, first before the interest of the politics.
Honorable, just on that one, who then should initiate that consensus? Who then should?
Well, first and foremost, the government has to do that.
Okay.
The people that are in office, they're the ones that have got the means to do that, to pull everybody together. But also we citizens. Part of the problem with Zambians is that, we get carried away, Chimwela, this kind of nonsense. Look at the government of Mr. Lungu. I mean, you had cadres everywhere. It was total chaos. You cannot have that. It's nonsensical. You cannot have, people just because I'm flying a flag, and therefore, it is a PF, Chitenge. But if I am putting one that is UPND, kill him. How can you do that? You're killing your own fellow citizens. No, it's not acceptable. That what Mr. Lungu's government did was simply unacceptable. And let's be fair.
Okay.
Right? Well, I've got every reason to criticize and suggest different things to even to this government. At least we have got some semblance of some order, don't we? Right now.
We do.
Yeah, we do have some. And I think we have to give credit where credit is due. But what I'm also saying is that this government is failing to deal with the mines, because the mines is where your source is of all these things. That's why I said let's spend a bit of time, Nelson, that I was talking about, spending a bit of time on the mining industry, because that's the genesis of all your economies and so on and so, the cost of living and the other things that come as a result of that.
Well, maybe his concluding remarks. Your concluding remarks on it.
Well, I think that for me, I'm saying that these possibilities are there. For me, we should take all our copper, 800,000 metric tons. The 3 million metric tons that President Hakainde was talking about is it's a good pipe dream. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It won't happen.
I'm
on record. It won't happen.
It won't happen.
Not in this environment. Not with the current situation. Even if it happened, who would it benefit? Look, Chile is producing its own copper. You're talking about 3 million with Chile. Chile has got a different body. Chile has got different concentrations. But who is it benefiting? In Chile, it benefits Chileans. They are running their own. They came here to come and buy these mines. Here, Chile, Codelco.
Okay.
Codelco, C-O-L-D-O. Codelco.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just telling you, it can be done. And why shouldn't it be done? What is wrong with us? What is inadequate about us as Zambians? Tell me. Nothing. The fault lies not in our stars, my dear young friends. It's not in our stars. It's in our minds. It's in ourselves. We must believe in ourselves and believe that we can be able to do it. There are other countries that can collaborate with us. They can cooperate with
willingly
us.
So.
Willingly.
Okay.
With them taking minority shareholding and so on and so forth. I think that it can be done. So I urge President HH that we need to re-examine. You call for this. Let's sit down together. If he does not succeed in 2026, then the next government must take account of what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Honorable, let me thank you more sincerely for coming through and for giving us such rich information. And hopefully, Honorable, this is not the last time you're appearing on the Breakfast Show. We need you again when it comes to giving advice and counsel on national matters, particularly the mines themselves.
Yes. No, I'll be willing, Nelson and my dear nephews. I'm willing to be here. I'm available. I'm thankful for your kind words. If it's of any help, while I'm still, God gives me some life, I am available. Because I am worrying. I've got 7 grandchildren. I'm asking myself, what happens to these kids, for crying out loud? So my concluding remarks would be that there's nothing impossible if we work together.
Okay.
There's nothing that is impossible if we put our mind to it. There's nothing impossible if we apply our intellect, we apply our experience to this. And there are enough Zambians, the Dr. Selani, Mwanechanyas of this world, they are in Russia mine. Okay. They are dewatering that mine. Who is working with those people that are investing in there with them? Who are Zambians? Who are they? Show us. Why not? So I'm saying to you that the opportunities are ours. Okay. It is for us now to exercise wisdom in the manner in which we look after ourselves to change the circumstances and the challenges of our country. Challenges will never stop. And I'm saying to you that as we look at these various issues, there's a sufficient pool of knowledge that, as you've said in your kind words, that we can be able to use. And I think it can be done. Okay. It can be done. And we need to have a clear vision of what we want for ourselves.
Okay. Nelson, we need to go. The Honorable, we still thank you, Honorable, still for coming through.
Thank you.
And for sharing this rich information.
Just invite me again and I'll come.
We will, definitely, Honorable, because if the West goes to the West, we'll hold you accountable, you and your fellow senior citizens, for allowing things to go to the West.
I think that's a fair comment. It's a very fair comment. Yeah. And that's why I'm here.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's why we'll have to call it a day, and hopefully that you've learned 1 or 2 things, especially from the knowledge that was coming in from former Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, as well as former Minister as well, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock at that time. It has been Nelson Zula as well as Joe Clavelo Simata. And our guest was Mr. Bob Sichinga. He's got a lot of names, Mr. Robert Kaponde, Kenneth Sichinga. All right, we'll call it a day, and Happy New Week to you.
A fountain of wisdom.
Hopefully you get to kickstart it on a good note, just like we did on Camnet TV.